This is Courtney.
And this is Kelsie.
And we're Pen Pals.
Hey guys, so welcome back to Pen Pals podcast. We have a very special episode. This episode, we're going to talk all about why we chose Penn State. I think that's pretty important because our podcast is called Penn Pals Podcast, Penn with two N's, Penn State being in the name. And we thought it was also important because College Decision Day is right around the corner. It's going to be May 1st. So we want to get this podcast out a little before if there's any of you still kind of struggling to make your decision. And we thought we would give some insight on why we both chose Penn State. And yeah, even if maybe you're a junior in high school and you're looking ahead to the next year, we want to give you guys some insight on why we chose Penn State and see what you think. So both of us chose to go out of state. So I'm from New Jersey and Kelsie is from Iowa, and we both chose out of state. And we actually did a poll on our Instagram at Pen Pals Podcast, if you're not already following. Did you go in state or out of state? And 60% of you actually chose out of state as well, which is pretty interesting. So we wanted to talk about why we ended up choosing going out of state, why we thought Penn State was worth going out of state for, and what led us to our decision. So Kelsie, I'll start with you. So what made you choose to go out of state and choose Penn State, basically?
That was the college I thought was such a hard decision. I watched so many YouTube videos of just people talking about where they went to school. I always knew that I wanted to go out of state though, because I wanted to work in entertainment, and it's not really a big field in Iowa or really in the Midwest in general. So I was looking all over at different schools, and I was actually a transfer student to Penn State my sophomore year. I started out at the Academy of Art University in San Francisco, and I studied film there. I was taking screenwriting and acting classes, and for some reason I love film, but I felt like something was really missing from what I was doing. And I loved art school. I love being around creative people. That's really why I like entertainment and telling stories. But I also really wanted more of a traditional college experience. I felt like I was kind of missing that. So I ended up even though I knew I wanted to be in entertainment, there were different parts of entertainment, different parts of film, different directions you could take. Did you want to be more of a producer or a writer or this or that? And it was so many decisions. I ended up changing my major multiple times before I thought that I wanted to go into broadcast journalism and do more television route. And I wanted to find a school that was really known for that. So I looked all over the country, and Penn State kept coming up on the list. And this is really cheesy and weird, but I am a huge Jonas Brothers fan. And one day I was flipping through their fan book because I had a Joe Jonas cutout. I had posters, I loved them. And they had a guy on their tour who went to Penn State, and they all had Penn State gear on, and they all had a photo. And I was like, maybe I should look into that. And I did. And I learned they had a great journalism school. And I asked my parents if we could go tour. And I went and toured. And the thing about Penn State is it's huge. It's a huge school, but it felt very small townish to an extent. I remember the first time I stepped on campus, it just felt comfortable. I don't know. That's the feeling I got when I was first there.
Yeah. A big thing for me was when I first toured, because same with you, I was looking for kind of a typical college experience, and I really wanted the campus to be kind of all in one. You didn't have to leave the campus, and I also didn't really want the town to be within the campus, if that makes sense. Sometimes there's some schools within cities that it's oh, okay, here's just a totally unrelated building in the middle of campus and stuff, and you have to cross a busy street or whatever to and from class. But I really like how Penn State pretty much everything is all within one really big, nice, safe, walkable campus. so I really liked that, and I liked how nice the buildings were and like how pretty the mountains were surrounding it. I was just like, oh, it just feels so nice. And then yeah, there's a very cute downtown bordering it. And I liked the downtown, and basically like the town that Penn State's in is called State College. So it's the town is built around the college instead of like the other way around if you're in a big city or whatever. Like it's literally named State College because of Penn State. And Penn State like was founded way back as like a farming school and then like grew to what it is today. But yeah, I chose out of state because I knew I wanted like a big state school. For me, the big state school would have been Rutgers, but like I said, one of the big things for me was having like a campus all enclosed sort of thing, and Rutgers wasn't that. No hate to Rutgers, obviously. Rutgers is a great school. And no hate to Jersey. But yeah, so that's why I chose Penn State. And I also kind of like, in a weird way, like I wanted like to go to a school where like not all of my high school was going to. That's kind of like a privileged position to be able to afford out of state, obviously, and to do that. So I definitely want to acknowledge that. But yeah, that was a little part of the decision for me. Like I didn't want my whole high school to be like, oh hey, there's all you guys and stuff.
Like a
And yeah, I just kind of wanted my own experience
yeah.
with that.
Well, that's
Yeah.
with me too. I mean, I didn't know a single person when I went there. I still remember sitting in my apartment bedroom and watching my parents drive off, and I was terrified. Like, I'll never forget that moment because it is a big part of your life to finally be kind of set free in a way, you know, like you're used to this structure, you're used to being with your parents and everything, and then to be somewhere, like I was so far away from my family too. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna come home today. Like I could not do that. So it was just kind of a like a fresh start and like a big moment. And I liked that about Penn State too. I felt like I could almost, I don't know if start over is the right word, but like do a new adventure. And I, being a transfer student too, I found personally that was like a little harder to make friends. I started like joining clubs and everything because I felt like all the freshmen were making friends, like right when you get there, everybody already had their group. So it's kind of hard for me. And that's when I started joining like our TV network. We have a student run TV network. I joined a film club. I was doing things so I would be surrounded by people that had the same interests as me. And obviously that's how we met. We met on like a sketch comedy show, which I was gonna push myself out of my comfort zone and do that because I was very quiet and it was scary too to an extent, but it was really cool because I feel like I said that it's such a big school, but you feel so tight knit. You know, I don't feel like a lot of really big schools or big cities even give you that vibe that it's so, I don't know how to explain it. It's like a feeling when you're there. Plus East Coast schools are just so beautiful. Like these old brick buildings, it's over 200 years old. And it's just a really gorgeous campus. And in the fall with like the leaves changing color, it's just really pretty to just walk around if you're ever there as well. But
yeah, exactly. Like it's firstly like a super pretty campus, a really great school for, well, obviously we're speaking from the like communications. We both majored in broadcast journalism. So we're speaking from that perspective, but you know, Penn State is still like a very great all around school, which is what I kind of wanted as well, because when I first like applied to colleges, I was like, okay, I want to do communications. Like I took a TV class in high school that I really liked, but like I wasn't like totally like obsessed with it yet. I was just like, you know, I think this is going to be a good route for me, and like most big schools have communications and stuff. And I remember reading somewhere that if you go in undecided, it's oftentimes a little harder than like going in communications or like with like a major like that, because undecided is just like such a big pool of people.
There's so many
So
choices.
yeah, so I felt like even though I was almost undecided in a way, it would be better for me to go into communications because I kind of knew I wanted to go that route. I wasn't totally sure, but I knew I thought I wanted to. But also, like the good thing about Penn State is if I wanted to change my mind, the business school is great. There's like other options. I wasn't like pigeonholed to being in a liberal arts school where it was like just focused on like the arts or whatever because I was just very undecided. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with that. There's lots of advantages to that as well, but I just was like undecided, not totally undecided, but like undecided, and I wanted enough like options around me and stuff if I were to change my mind.
Well, I don't think that's such a big deal either, though, because even if going into communications, like you know what you like, and even just going into broadcast journalism, there are so many jobs that you could do from there. It's still so many decisions that you have to make.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're never really stuck in something anyway. Like communications is a great route, obviously. And yeah, I did go my freshman year. I loved my freshman year so much. It was so much fun. I lived in the freshman dorms. They call it like East dorms, which is where most of the freshmen are in. It's like a big cluster of dorms on like the corner of campus, and it's fun. There's a lot of like freshmen all around you just like wanting to make friends and
Exactly.
party and stuff if you're into that. So yeah, I met a lot of my good friends on my freshman floor that I'm still friends with, which is awesome. And yeah, so that was a great way to make friends. And then sororities and fraternities are also really big at Penn State, but I kind of felt like I was like, okay, I'm meeting so many friends organically, and there's so many like clubs at Penn State, which I'll get into. Um, I was like, I don't think I need a sorority just because I kind of never really pictured myself in a sorority. But if you want to, all power to you. There's lots of sororities at Penn State, but Penn State is really great because there's options outside of a sorority. It's not like, oh, if you're not in a sorority or a fraternity, you're not doing anything over the weekend. It's not like that at all, which I think is really great to have that like option, like, oh, the school's all sorority, all fraternity, all Greek life. You're nothing without it. There's nothing to do without it. That's not the case at all. Yeah. And we both found clubs we really like. Kelsie just talked about our student TV network, PSN TV. We both loved that, got super involved in that. We talk about that in an earlier episode of how we won a college Emmy. Go check that out. It's episode number 2. But yeah, we met in one of the clubs in a sketch comedy show, TV show club, which was really fun.
That was so, and two, I think I got so involved in that club too. Like you were saying, it kind of consumed a lot of my time. I won't say all my time, exaggerate, but it consumed a lot of my time, and you're hanging out with people. I think if you want to be in TV or film, you're used to hanging out with people on sets all the time or really close in like an office space, coming up with ideas. So it was fun to be with a lot of like-minded people. And obviously that's how we met. And
Yeah.
like college friendships are so strong too, I think, because you meet people who are in the same mindset as you and you go to college because you have a certain direction that you want to go with your life too, and you're around people who want to do that as well. So I was really heavily involved in that club, and I did multiple shows, which you did too, because we worked on a bunch of them together. But I remember that was just so fun because I was doing something that I really like to do. I had other people that really wanted to do that too, and I was way too busy to do anything else.
Yeah. That kind of became our social life, like our pseudo sorority in a way, because we even had like socials within the club. Like you like to hang out with like those people like outside of school, or even like filming for the club and stuff. And yeah, it was just like a great way to meet people that like we're still friends with to this day and stuff. So it was a really great way.
Yeah, and like just hanging out in the studio. So Penn State, if you're in like broadcast, they have a separate facility with a TV studio. They do radio there as well. I wasn't as involved in radio, but we would like, I just remember having so much fun because we would be shooting a show and then we would just be like hanging out in the studio and throwing around like these crazy ideas. And I mean, I think you're just a fun kid if you're in this business too. Such crazy things that
Yeah.
it's just there. Yeah, but we had a lot of fun. I liked doing all the socials, and then as like producers, I thought it was really important because you're managing a team. We would do dinners, remember, at the end of every semester. We'd all get together for like a formal dinner because I just like that's the way to meet people and to make camaraderie. I can't say that word. Camaraderie.
Yeah, camaraderie. However you say it.
It was a lot of fun, and I think that school too, from their sports program, from football, everyone's like a die-hard fan to an extent. So there's that sense of community and of people getting really close at games. They have all these traditions that they do at football games, and there's just a lot going on there. Always something fun. I just have like such good memories from going to school there.
Yeah, like just so much school spirit is what sold me, the school spirit, the campus. And then some of my favorite memories were the football games. It was so much fun. Like there's just a student section for all students and you just go like crazy and like cheer for your team. And I think pretty much every year I bought season tickets. I was like at every game and stuff. And like I wouldn't say like I'm a football fan at all. I don't watch football anymore at all, but it was so much fun just being there and going there. Like I think it was really fun to have a school that like has a big sport and has like something like that part of the year where it's like, okay, it's like a football day, it's a fun day, like it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a way to bring people together. And there's just something, I don't know, I just like walking around there too. We had such cool like facilities to do work, and I was always hauling camera equipment everywhere. That was my thing. The other thing too is, as journalism majors, we had to choose, in the College of Communications, we had to choose minors as well. So like, I want to know what drew you to your minor, because I remember that being a really tough decision for me, because I'm like, okay, I know I want to be in TV. And they're like, well, you got to have a minor that's not television. I'm like, you can't minor and major in TV, so you have to choose something else.
Yeah, I remember that being really hard too. I was like, oh, can I like not minor in telecommunications? They were like, no, which is totally, like at first I was like, whatever, but like that's totally fine. I think now they do actually have like a minor in like digital online writing or something, which would be very interesting. I'd be definitely interested in that. But when we went, we didn't have the option to like double major minor in communications, and they usually, I don't think, let you double major in anything communications. So I don't quote me on this, but I don't think you could look into it if you're going to Penn State. I don't think you could do both film and broadcast at the same time. I don't think they let you.
No, because that was something I thought about for a long time too, like, oh, just minor in film. But I think they want to really broaden your scope, especially in their journalism school is more, I guess cutting edge is more the word. You learn a lot about hard journalism and news stories. So I think it's important to learn outside of that scope about something really specific. But I didn't go into like hard news or anything. So it was a little, but I learned so much that I was able to apply. I ended up minoring in human development and family studies. So it was a lot of psychology, how people develop, how people think, which I thought would be really helpful in storytelling specifically. But I was in a lot of classes with people who were going to be teachers, who are going to be counselors. And I was like, am I the only one here that like is not going to counsel people and do something really important there? But that's the route I ended up going. And I thought it was so interesting. There are still things that I learned in that minor that I still use today. Like I had to take child development and I took adolescent development. I I focus more on like teenagers and children, and I use what I learned with my child today.
Oh,
Like
wow.
it's crazy, yeah, like how she thinks, how she does things, her brain growth, and the things that she's learning and words and everything. I mean, I don't remember all of it, but there's some like key points that I really took away. So I felt like I could apply that to my life, which was cool.
That's awesome. How did you choose that in the first place?
I just wanted to I loved psychology when I was in high school. I took every class that you could. I took psychology, social psychology, and sociology. And I just think it's fascinating learning how people think. And like I said, I thought it would tie into storytelling, because then you can read off people's emotions and how they feel. And I just thought that would be helpful. But like I said, that was such a hard decision for me. There were classes that I took, I'm not going to lie, that I dropped because I was like, like, I don't know. And that's why I ended up, there were so many classes. That's why I ended up focusing more on children and younger people. Because I find like those kinds of people change a lot. And I was like, okay, I'm an adult. I kind of understand what I'm going through now. I don't need to take a class on it at this time. But yeah, I thought it was so fascinating, and being a parent too. Not that I was thinking about that at the time. Like, I don't know. I didn't have that mindset. I was very focused on my work at the time. And then things happened, obviously. But yeah, how did you choose yours? Because you switched even too in the middle of the semester. Or not the semester, your time, there 4 years there.
Yeah. No, I stayed with the same minor I chose, but I added another minor.
That's what I was.
Yeah, so the minor I firstly chose was art history, and I chose that because Penn State, another thing with Penn State, as in most colleges, they have you take like gen ed classes, so you have to take some history, some science, some math, um a little one like international studies. Like they have certain requirements, and the requirements are different for each major, so don't be psyched out if you're like coming in as a communications major as we do. Like you don't have to take like super hard science classes and be in a lab all day. Like you kind of just take like a basic um high school bio class or whatever is what I did, so don't freak out about that. But that's something you're worried about. It's really not that big of a deal, and it's pretty much the same in all colleges and stuff. But yeah, so I ended up minoring in art history because I took a gen ed history class, and I had art history be my class for that. And I don't know, I just like I took like an intro to art history class, and the professor was just so cool and made it like so fun. I was like, whoa, I did not think I would like this much, but it's just so interesting to me. I don't know, just like dissecting like art, what the meaning of it is. And yeah, I never thought that would be something I was like into, but I really enjoyed it a lot. It was a lot of fun. And so yeah, I chose that as my minor. That was a fun minor to take as like an offset my like journalism classes. Like it was completely different, and so it was almost relaxing in a way, like having that to just like focus on like when I needed to focus on that. And yeah, and then I also minored in international studies. That one I would say is almost like not even a real minor in a way. It is a real minor, but I got it because I studied abroad, and so all the classes I took studying abroad counted towards the minor. So I literally only had to take one class at Penn State when I came back. So, and it was like a communications one as well, like a communications international studies one. Yeah. And so that's another tip with Penn State. If you're going there, like go see your advice. I went and saw my advisor every single time I made my schedule because so many of my things double counted. So like for my international studies minor, I remember I actually already took like a 400 level art history class that was like international studies as well, and it like double counted for that. So I only had to take one additional class to get like a whole nother minor. And I had a bunch of classes double count with like the higher level art history. There was like a couple of gen eds and stuff that double counted. And also if you have taken AP classes as a high school senior or junior,
Yes.
that counts for
Yeah.
your gen ed. So that could take away a lot of them. My boyfriend was a little smart trans and he like barely had to take any.
That's the other thing I took. That's a great tip that you pointed out too. I took a lot of college level classes when I was in high school. And actually, a lot of people that know me don't know this, but I left high school early. I graduated early. I don't even know if I've told you this, but I left high school early and I started college earlier than everybody else as a senior in high school. I just wanted to get out in the world and get started. I don't know. I'm just like so passionate about TV and stuff. Like I was even doing stuff like that when I was in high school and trying to go after my goals. So I did that. And like you said, at Penn State, you can take so many different classes, even if you have no idea what you want to do, just general classes. And then something might be super interesting to you that you would have never thought of before, which I think is why they want us to minor and like diversify our portfolio in a sense, and try out new things. And you said science. I took an astrophysics class and I don't know if I told you this, and I ended up taking because you have to take 2 science classes in our major, and I ended up taking astrophysics 2, and I was like, why? It was so hard, but it was so fascinating to me.
Did you drop it?
No, I did the whole
wow.
thing. I spent a lot of nights with my dad on the phone being like, okay, can you explain string theory to me? Because these things are so backwards. Yeah, it was fascinating. And I think that's why I like TV and stuff in general, because you learn all these interesting things. And I feel like that kind of stuff is just its own story. Science cannot explain any of that. They're just all these theories, and like you can make up your own theories, make up your own stories. Like you said with art history, like interpreting television, interpreting different pieces of art. Like I think it's all applicable, and there's so many different things that you can do with it overall.
Yeah, like even when you're like traveling abroad, you could like recognize different like architecture, different styles. Like I remember I went to the Louvre when I was abroad, and like I was like, oh my god, I learned about this, I learned about that. So it makes it like cool when you see that stuff in your daily life. And also you could just like act very fancy, like a lot of stuff. Oh, I know all this artwork. Oh, that's by so whatever. So yeah, I really love that. It was a lot of fun. And a surprising thing, like I didn't think I would ever choose that, but yeah, Penn State has you take those gen eds and really make the most of it. Like Penn State has a ton of different courses, a ton of great professors that you could just really take advantage of all the classes that you could take and routes you could go with things. They really have a lot to offer. And like we mentioned a million times, the clubs, like they let us like take the clubs where we wanted them. Like they gave us there was like equipment rental places for camera equipment that we could get out ourselves, and even if we weren't in a club, we could go and like film stuff on our own. Like that's a great thing about Penn State is like, one, you have like a great community around you, and 2, it kind of really lets you like do your own thing with whatever you want. Like if you're passionate enough about something, like they'll support you and they find ways for you to like do it yourself. And you could even start your own club. You don't even have to start a club. Like there's someone there that will support you, like an advisor, counselor, or even similar students that you could do stuff with. So just a really big school with a lot of great, passionate people, I would say.
A strong alumni network too, all over the country or wherever you end up as well. And I think I do want to mention lastly too, that the cherry on top for me was that there is an ice cream creamery on campus.
Yeah.
Unintended. And Ben and Jerry took classes there, and they told me that on their tour. And anyone who knows me knows that I'm obsessed with ice cream. So being able to get ice cream after class was just like, what this school was made for me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot that when talking about the tour. You always like end the tour at the creamery, and like it's amazing. Like from cow to cone in 3 days, I think their motto is something. It's really fresh and it's really great. So that's a huge selling point. So it's awesome.
For sure. I would recommend it to anyone. But.
Yeah. And another big thing that I forgot to mention is THON. It's our huge charity for the kids, FTK, and it's to raise money for kids with childhood cancer, to support their families, supporting them, and to also fund research. It goes to the Four Diamonds Foundation, and I think the main hospital that it's in is CHOP, Children's Hospital of Pennsylvania or Philadelphia, in Philadelphia area. But yeah, we raise millions and millions every year for kids with childhood cancer, and it's really great. A really great charity, a really great organization to be a part of. There's so many different orgs that participate in THON. So our Penn State TV network participated in it, and most of the clubs, it's really fun. They have a kind of THON sector to get involved in THON as well. And the sororities and fraternities also have their own part of it. And there's some also just standalone THON organizations that just focus on THON all year, which is also really fun, in a fun way to meet people. I joined one of those my freshman year as well. And so, yeah, it's a really, really fun thing to get a part of, to be part of. I think the THON event is in February every year, and it's basically every club that participates in THON nominates a dancer, and this dancer has to stay on the auditorium floor for 42 hours straight. Is that what it is? 42?
Yeah, and you stand and you don't ever sit or anything, and it's just pure dedication, honestly.
Yeah. And then everybody from your org will be in the stands cheering you on, and there's all these fun events, musical events. I think the Jonas Brothers came one year and stuff.
They did. I wasn't there. I think it was the year after.
Yeah.
I was so upset. I was so upset. But no, I've seen them in concert multiple times.
Good. But yeah. So that's another great thing about Penn State. That's actually how my boyfriend went to Penn State as well. We met after in Nashville, which is a whole nother story, but he loved THON, and he is in med school right now, and that is what really motivated him as well to be he's gonna work in pediatrics and stuff because of THON. So yeah.
But I just remember they do canning trips. So you take the big cans, you can travel around. I think it's almost the whole Northeast region. It's not just in Pennsylvania. You travel around and raise money around the area. And I remember you and I went, and my favorite thing is we were stopped I think at least twice, by people that said, "Are you two twins?" And we were like, "No," but we both had matching Penn State, little beanies on. Yes. You have to wear the vests, obviously those bright vests, because you're out and about and you have to be cautious. And then we had on, I think we both had on boots and leggings. We really matched.
I remember I had boots and high Penn State socks over leggings, and maybe a tutu. We both wore matching tutus or something.
Yes, I forgot about that. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
You're supposed to get all jazzy and attract people to donate to THON and stuff. So we stood outside of a grocery store most of the time or something. It could be wherever they let you, but that was a really, really fun experience, and another fun bonding experience and stuff. That's the thing with Penn State. It's a big school. There's such a great community, and there's so many football games, THON, canning with THON, a million organizations, there's just a million things to feel a part of the school, and just to have a great experience. It's awesome.
It is awesome. Yeah, it reminds me, I know we end every episode with what we're watching, and I haven't seen this movie recently, but have you seen Sydney White with Amanda Bynes? And she goes to college, and there are all these fraternities and sororities, and she's trying to make the really nerdy one big again. It's so good if you haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it, or maybe I've seen part of it. I've heard of it. I don't think I've seen it.
You need to watch it. It's so funny. Amanda Bynes was my childhood. But anyway, all this college talk brought up that movie, and I really want to watch it. What have you been watching lately?
Yeah, so like speaking of college stuff, the opposite of college is this show called The Dropout. She drops out of college, not that we're advising that. Do you? But yeah, so the show The Dropout is about Elizabeth Holmes. She invented Theranos, and basically it's kind of like been a fraud the whole time. Like it's her product that she made never worked, and yeah, it just, this one is like partly fictional, I believe, like to really get into like who Elizabeth Holmes was and to build like a big story about it. But yeah, there's multiple episodes with it. It's all on Hulu, and I definitely recommend it. It's a really like interesting story, and yeah, I think it's a fun watch.
I need to check that out. I saw it keep popping up whenever I log on, and I need to sit down and watch some of it and see how it is. Riverdale's back. So I've been watching Riverdale. I'm just hooked on it. I have to know what happens to these people now, and it's getting crazy really into the season. And then I started watching, and I binged it, was Murderville on Netflix.
Oh no.
It sounds terrifying, but I swear I was laughing so hard. It has Will Arnett, who is just so much fun. I mean, he's Lego Batman, so he's just the greatest to watch. But it is, each episode, you would really like it. They're half-hour episodes. There's a murder mystery in each episode, and it's a scripted series, but each episode they bring in a celebrity guest, and they don't give the script to the celebrity. So the celebrity has no idea what's going on, and they have to ad-lib lines, and it's so funny. And then at the end of each episode, the celebrity has to guess who the murderer was after they interview a couple of characters throughout the show.
That's crazy.
So funny. Conan O'Brien was in the first episode, and I was just laughing so hard. He just didn't know what was going on, and he's even like looking around like at people. It's a lot of fun if you want something really light. And obviously Will Arnett is hilarious. My husband and I watch him on Lego Masters. Like I said, Lego Batman. I love that show as well. But anyway, it's just a lot of fun if you need something really light. And I went through it so quick, and it just made me so happy. So I would recommend that.
That's awesome. I was looking for something to watch on Netflix last night, and I like stopped on that, and I was like, what is this? But now that you explained how it works, I was like, why is Conan O'Brien on this? And now that you explain how it works, it makes so much more sense.
It's funny, and they're quick little episodes, and you can watch one at a time, and it's a lot of fun. It was my humor just listening to all these jokes, and then go off script, and you're like, what is he gonna do now? And then people are running, and you're like, what? It's a lot of fun. So I would recommend that.
Nice. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out. But yeah, so we hope this episode helped you if you're making your college decision, and if you're deciding on Penn State, if you're deciding to be a communications major at Penn State. We definitely speak from that perspective, but we hope we offered some insight just to anyone who's looking to potentially go to Penn State, and just insight on what we valued when we chose Penn State as our college. So yeah, we hope that helps some, and thank you all for listening. Be sure to follow us on Instagram if you don't already. We post a lot of different polls and little videos of ourselves. So we are at Penn Pals Podcast, PENN Pals Podcast. If you're watching us on YouTube, also feel free to listen to us on Apple, Spotify, and Google, and rate us 5 stars. And if you're just listening, feel free to watch us on YouTube as well. We do both. So we really hope you guys enjoyed listening to this episode, and we'll catch you all next time. Bye.
Bye.